Okay, Derringers, one of my favorite things to talk about. A Derringer is a kind of athlete, and I will throw this word Derringer at them accusingly if I think that they fit the profile. So before we talk about what kind of an athlete a Derringer is, we need to talk about what an actual Derringer is so it makes sense. Okay, so a Derringer is a type of gun, actually. It's a very small gun. My fingers aren't far off. I'm going to show you a picture in a second. It was a gun that was used in the old Wild West. Now, back in those days when everybody was carrying a gun on their hip, maybe two, maybe a shotgun over their back, and one on their horse, they had rules about when and where you could wear guns. So whenever you walk into a saloon, like in the old Westerns, they had to give up their guns. So they'd walk into the saloon, the bartender would go, hey, give me your gun. They'd have to slap it down on the counter and slap the other one down on the counter, and the saloon manager would say, be good now. And so then men, alcohol, women were all in the same place, and that's never a good combo when things are in the old Wild West. If anybody here has seen a Western, you know what's coming. Some kind of a fight. We're going to argue about poker or something. Something's going to happen where people don't like each other, and that's why they had to give up all their weapons. Now, the thing is, people got tired of getting cheated in poker or whatever it was, and they decided to sneak in a weapon. So again, this guy, who apparently his last name was Derringer, made this very small gun that at first could shoot one very small bullet, and later they made two, and later they made four, and they could actually fit this thing inside their boot. So here are a couple of pictures of double-barreled Derringers. These things are so small you could hide them behind the palm of your hand. So now you've seen a picture of a Derringer, you know just how small a gun this is. Now, what would happen is, people would be playing poker and someone would show their cheating ways and, get mad and accuse the other guy of cheating, and the other guy would go, oh yeah? Well, instead of getting into a fist fight, he'd reach down into his boot and pull out this Derringer. Now, everybody else has given their weapons to the saloon manager or the bartender, whoever it was, and they're behind the counter and they don't have access to them. So this guy's got this little itty bitty, like almost literal pea shooter, and he's threatening the rest of the bar. Now, this is good enough to get you out of a fight in the Old West. There is very little chance a Derringer will kill you, but it really, really hurts and could do a lot of damage that would put you down for quite a while. And heck, it might kill you. I mean, hospitals were terrible back then. So having a Derringer meant that you could probably get out of a tough situation. Now, that sounds like Derringers are good things. Well, yeah, in exactly one situation, a Derringer is a good thing to have. Exactly one situation. And it's got to be a very specific exact situation. As soon as anybody else has any weapons of any kind, a Derringer is completely and totally useless. And that leads me into an athlete that fits the profile of a Derringer. An athlete that fits the profile of a Derringer is good for only one situation. One extremely specific situation. They don't do well in other places or means. They're only good for one thing. They give up if it's not the one situation that they had planned out in their head. If they didn't think this was going to happen and something else happened, they just give up. They tend to freeze and watch when things don't go as planned instead of just moving and acting. They're only good for one thing. They give up if it's not the one thing they planned for. They freeze and watch instead of moving and acting. They have to be, and you're going to hate this, they're athletes that have to be programmed. Yeah, these athletes, their coaches see the limitations of them, and they know they have to say, you have no choice. When this happens, you do this. When this happens, you do this. And when this happens, you do this. You get no other options because the coaches know they're a Derringer and they just can't handle anything else. They're not allowed any creativity at all. They're not offered any leeway like you see the better players getting. And my question to you is that okay with you? Are you okay with being a Derringer? Because I'll tell you what, being a Derringer is about two things. Being a Derringer is about standards and expectations. If the standards you have are low, and the expectations expectations you have for yourself are low, you'll end up being a Derringer sometimes. Plays will just overwhelm you. You'll get confused, or you won't know what to do, and so you'll freeze up. I got news for you. This doesn't happen to great players. Great players may have frozen up once or twice, but their standards of their level of play that they expect from themselves, or the culture that they're a part of with the high standards and expectations that they have, will not allow for their survival. They'll get cut from the team, or they will find a way to change. If you have high standards and expectations, this will be a very small problem for you. If you have low standards and or expectations, you already are a Derringer, and I don't want you to be one. When things change in volleyball, when somebody hits a ball and it hits the net, so it was coming a million miles an hour, and now it's going to go short, most people freeze and watch that ball hit the ground. They go, oh, what are you going to do? Well, I'll tell you what you're going to do. Go find a really good court with really good players and see what they do. They move and act. They may not get the ball, but they move and they act immediately because they will accept nothing else. They get a crummy set. Do they kind of wah, and give up? No, they move and act. They find a way. They creatively make some way to get this ball back in the court. I have a success story about Derringers. I have a kid that I trained that was a complete and total Derringer. This kid gave up all the time. This kid didn't know what to do ever unless I told her exactly what to do in exactly every situation I could possibly think of. Well, we talked about standards and expectations with that kid. And she took it upon herself to change and to find ways to come out the victor as opposed to the victim when she was playing volleyball. And I am very proud to say that she has one of the most memorable stories that I tell again and again every year in my practices about getting to the state championships. She made this amazing play happen on this horrific set that ended up not just getting back over the net, but going down for a kill because the entire other team, who was excellent, by the way, was favored to go to and win state, froze up because they could not believe she did it. Turned them all into Derringers. That's right. I have a Derringer story about a kid that stopped being one and created a whole other team's worth on her way to both going to and winning a state championship. So you got to choose. Are you going to be one of these? It's only these two things. Do you have high standards and expectations? You'll be fine. If you have low standards and expectations, you'll find yourself not doing this, but freezing and watching. You'll find that you're only good in the situations you planned for. And you got to ask yourself, are you okay with that? Because I don't want you to be. I don't want you to be programmed. I want you to be fluid. I want you to be creative. And I want you to beat people instead of losing to them. Derringers, don't do it.